Hello everyone, Tmmgamer here, and today I have the pleasure of bringing you another one of my football talk videos where I just sit down and talk football for a little bit. Now, before I get into the topics I'm going to be covering today, I just cannot say how fantastic it is to be sitting down here and actually having an opportunity to talk about football, because I worked until 9:30 last night, then I was in at 9 this morning, and last night I had the worst night's sleep I've had in months, because I've got this like mucusy, nasally, coughy, horrible thingamajig, which basically meant I spent so much of last night coughing, spluttering, having to go downstairs for strepsils and glasses of water, and it ended up me getting about 2 or 3 hours sleep. So I'm absolutely cream crackered right about now. Oh, it's just so nice to sit down. The time at the moment is about 20 past 4. I finished work at 2, came home, I ordered myself a pizza because I thought I just want one. I was just in the mood where I wanted a pizza, and I just sat and chilled out for a bit, and I thought, you know what, let's record a video. And what I was planning to do today is record a live commentary, but I'm just not in the state to record that at the moment. I am off work tomorrow, and fingers crossed I can get a live commentary out for you then. I'm planning to see relatives tomorrow as well, and I still haven't had parcels delivered for Christmas, so fingers crossed they come through tomorrow as well. So I'll have to put and rearrange everything all around that, so fingers crossed I can do something for you. So if you enjoy the live comms, definitely stick around. I have not given up on them by any stretch of the imagination. But for today, I'm just using this gameplay. It's a game I played, I think, 2 or 3 days ago against my mate John. It's a pretty tight game, actually. Really tight against two very solid teams, Chelsea and Germany, and it's a good game to watch in the background. But like I've been mentioning, today is a football talk gameplay, and today there's 2 topics I wanted to cover. The first one is Vincent Tan and Malky Mackay, a topic that's been in the press a lot recently, and the second one is Luis Suarez in general. And let's start off, obviously, like I mentioned, with Vincent Tan and Malky Mackay. And this is the story which has been in the papers day after day for about the past, well, pretty much all season, about how terrible it seems Vincent Tan is and how unfairly Malky Mackay is getting treated. And this has all culminated this week with the apparent news, which, you know, according to all sources is correct, that Vincent Tan sent Malky Mackay an ultimatum saying, if you don't resign now, I will sack you. Now, apparently what's happened today is that they decided that the imminent threat of sacking is going to be slightly removed, so Vincent is not going to sack Malky immediately, and they're going to talk to discuss their relationship. And for me, this is the most ridiculous thing I've seen in football this season. And there's been some pretty ridiculous things happen in football this season. Did one earlier in the week about AVB sacking and how I thought that was an absolutely horrendous piece of, you know, chairmanship and ownership to sack AVB. But the way Malky Mackay's been treated just puts that on the back burner. I mean, everything pales into insignificance when compared to Malky Mackay. You know, Malky Mackay has taken Cardiff to the Premier League, and it's the first time they've ever been to the Premier League. It's the first time in, is it 50 years, I think? You know, actually, a good stat for you. Last time Cardiff were in the first division, I think it was Bill Shankly's first season at Liverpool. That's how long ago it was, you know. So he has taken a team which perennially got to the playoffs and then lost to the Premier League, which is an incredible achievement. You know, really good achievement. He's won in the South Wales Derby, massive game. Not a particularly great game, but, you know, to get the victory in those sorts of games is, you know, more important than the result, more important than the performance, sorry. You can tell I'm tired, apologies for this. But, you know, he's got that result, big result. Cardiff have not played badly at all this season. You know, when, you know, people first saw Cardiff in the Premier League, they were a lot of people's favourites to go down. You know, everyone's like, oh, Cardiff, they're not really a very good side. You know, are they good enough to stay up? I thought he made some very good signings in the window. I mean, players like Steven Colker and Gary Medel have done very well. He seems to have curbed Gary Medel's absolute lunatic streak as well, because he's always got a knee-high, 2-footed challenge in him, but somehow he's managed to be curbed, which is good. And they've played solid football. You know, they're not Barcelona, but what are you going to expect from a newly promoted team? You know, for every Blackpool, there's, you know, 25 other teams who go up and try and be tight, and that's definitely the right way, because as we saw with Blackpool, you may score 3, but if you concede 5, it's not really worth it. You know, it's much better to try and eke out a 1-0 win every now and again. than it is to go gung-ho and play no defenders and just get absolutely destroyed. So Malky Mackay, by all accounts, has done a fantastic job. Absolutely fantastic job, no doubt at all. Vincent Tan has put him in a position where, to be quite honest with you, I would have resigned as Cardiff manager now, because I couldn't live with that sort of owner. Vincent Tan clearly either knows nothing about football or cares so little that he just wants to do whatever. And I think it actually is the latter one. It seems that he's gone absolutely drunk with power. He's got himself a football club and he's changed the kit colour, he's rebranded it against the wish of the fans, and he sacked Ian Moody, the head of recruitment. That's something I'm going to be coming on to in a little bit. He just seems to do whatever the hell he wants. And you might say, he's the owner of the football club, he can behave however he wants, but you destroy the image of a football club by doing this. And this is what Vincent Tan is doing to Cardiff, because it has turned Cardiff into a respectable club, from a respectable club, into the laughingstock of the Premier League, because that's exactly what they are at the moment. Vincent Tan is the new Venky's. And the problem with Venky's, obviously, they destroyed Blackburn Rovers, absolutely destroyed them as a football club. And Vincent Tan, perhaps he's got a little bit more money than Venky's. Venky's didn't exactly invest in the playing squad, but Vincent Tan's off-field shenanigans are right up there with all of the worst owners in the Premier League history, and right up there with Thaksin Shinawatra, who got done for corruption charges about 2 weeks after he took over Manchester City. Vincent Tan sacks the head of recruitment who's bought all of these fantastic players and replaces them with a friend of his son's, which is just a simply ridiculous thing to do. And he countered this by saying, oh, it was because Ian Moody overspent in the summer. And I flat out categorically refute this. If you are the chairman of a football club, you are the one who signs the cheques. If someone comes to you and says, can we sign so-and-so for £10 million, and you say yes, that is not an overspend, because you have sanctioned the money leaving the football club. That is just the biggest cop-out excuse I have seen, and it's a way to try and cover his own ass. And then you see today, that email got sent to Malky Mackay saying, if you don't resign, I'm going to sack you. This is the biggest example of constructive dismissal being attempted here that I've seen in the Premier League. If Malky Mackay does end up getting sacked, I would sue that clown Tan for every penny he's worth, because it's clear that he's just trying to be forced out the club. He's done nothing wrong. He's signed players, which, it's clear that Vincent Tan gave him the money to sign those players, because no chairman lets a manager run round with an open checkbook. You have to run the cost by the chairman, and if the chairman says yes, then that's fine, which is obviously what's happened. So you've had all of that. You've had the relentless pressure on Malky Mackay, just week after week after week. There is story in the press or little whisper on the radio, all that sort of stuff about Malky Mackay's future. You've got him hiring and firing all of the staff which Malky Mackay brought into the club, Ian Moody the main example. It's just undermining Malky Mackay at every single instance. And this guy is obviously loved and respected by the fans. You saw that at Liverpool at the weekend. He got a standing ovation from Cardiff fans, and he got applauded off by the Liverpool fans. This just goes some way to explain how ridiculous a situation this is. Because when you see opposition football fans come out in support of a Premier League manager, that does not happen very often. Vincent Tan is just a clown. He's just a clown. There's no other description I can think of which is more apt to description of what he is. He's just a moron of the highest level. And just because you've got a lot of money doesn't mean you've got much sense. And it seems like Vincent Tan is falling into that category. I don't know how he made his money before making decisions like this. Because you are taking a football club which is an established brand. You are changing that against the will of the people who've got it to where it is. You have got a very, very successful manager who's helped put Cardiff on the map, and you're undermining him. You've got a successful group of staff who've made great strides for Cardiff, and you're firing them and replacing them with, nepotism appointments, which is basically that is. You are besmirching Cardiff's name across the football world. because, you know, of just the ludicrous situations you're putting on. How did that guy make money by making these decisions? You know, it's just lunacy. It's flat out pants on head retarded. That's what this is. It's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. You know, and like I said, you know, if I was Malky Mackay, I would have resigned, because I just wouldn't have been able to put up with this idiot. You know, you get a guy and you get owners come in and just flat out ruin football clubs. And like I mentioned before, you know, the biggest example of this is Venkis. You had that crook Milan, was it Milan Mandaric? I can't, if I've pronounced that wrong or said something different, but the former Portsmouth owner who basically bankrupted them. You have Shinawatra, like I mentioned, you know, done for corruption charges at Manchester City. You had the Icelandics at West Ham basically bankrupt the club. You know, how are these people getting to become owners of the Premier League? I thought there was supposed to be a system when a new owner comes into the Premier League, they are checked to make sure they aren't mental or they aren't crooks. And this system seems to be completely and utterly flawed. Because how are these people becoming owners? I know, you know, Tan bought Cardiff when they were still in the Championship, but he still falls into the same category. You know, I can't believe this. You know, football is always a ridiculous sport, and like I mentioned, there's been so many stupid things happen this season after season of just stupid decisions being made, and clubs suffering for it. But this just trumps them all, and I can't believe Vincent Tan. I really can't. There's just no explanation, there's no reason, there's no rhyme or anything to support this. Tan is just being an idiot. You know, there's no other way to put it. I can't put it more diplomatically than that, because, you know, that's what I think. I think he's been absolutely ridiculous with his decision making, and he is running that football club into the ground, unfortunately, which is not great. You know, so I have massive sympathy for Malky Mackay. I support him, and I hope he gets through, and, you know, whether he stays at Cardiff or not, I mean, it's looking pretty untenable, his position at the moment, through no fault of his own, just through absolute moronic owners. But what are you going to do, I suppose? You know, that's my opinion on that. Last thing I wanted to talk about, like I mentioned at the start of the video, is Luis Suarez. And I've always had a bit of a checkered, you know, relationship with Luis Suarez, because there's never been any denying what a world-class footballer is. He's a tremendous player, but all of the rest of the baggage you get with him, it's just unacceptable. I mean, he's bitten a player on the football field not once, but twice. Twice. He bit someone in the Dutch league, and now he bit Branislav Ivanovic last season. He's been done for racially abusing Patrice Evra, and, you know, people might say, oh, you know, slightly dodgy case, etc., etc. I don't think it was. I think that was pretty character. You know, the word he said, in the context he said it, there was only one meaning for that, and he meant that as an insult. Whether it's said in, you know, comradely terms back in his native land, I can't say. You know, I don't know that. But the context that word was used in the middle of an argument, it was meant to be derogatory, in my opinion. So I can't see any defence on that issue. Whether or not he was guilty or not, he then refused to shake Patrice Evra's hand after that incident, which was just balmy. After Liverpool came out and supported him and said, you know, we will stand by you after all of this, for him to do that was just crazy. I still can't understand that. You know, I have all of this. He's been seen to be a little bit of a diver in the past. You know, I think he's cleared that up pretty much. You know, when you compare him to Ashley Young, who, you know, should win gold medal at the Olympics for all his pirouettes that he does. You know, I don't think Luis Suarez is that much of a diver. I think he's just got a sort of reputation that goes before him. A lot of referees are a little bit harsh on him now because of this perceived, you know, image of him being a diving player or a cheating player. I don't think that's necessarily true. But like I mentioned, there is no doubt just how talented Luis Suarez is. At the moment, I think he is the best player in the world on current form. And that's a massive claim. Because when you look at some of the players in the world, I mean, obviously in the main two, Messi and Ronaldo, two phenomenal players. But even if you looked beyond them, look at players like Iniesta, Xavi, Ibrahimovic, Cavani, Falcao. You know, the list goes on of truly top-class, exceptional talent in every position. But for me, at the moment, if I was doing a World 11 team, the first name I would put on that team sheet is Luis Suarez. He's just been sensational this season, absolutely sensational. the 2 goals he scored, you know, against Cardiff, great finishes. Just the technique for the volley, put it in the bottom corner, looked like he does it every day, which pretty much he does. And then the finesse finish into the far corner was just delicious. What a delicious finish that was. Now, he's just so talented. He works so hard. He's got skill on the ball. He takes set pieces. He creates. He's got finishing from all over the pitch. Distance shooting, right, left foot. Scores headers as well. I mean, can you remember the bullet header he scored earlier in the season? What a stunning goal that was. You know, he's just the complete player. And for me, you know, Ronaldo, he's right up there. But current form, I think Luis Suarez is the best player in the world at the moment. And that's all I really wanted to say about him. It's just a shame that with him, just like so many other top-class footballers, there seems to be just a personality defect and so much baggage. Like Ashley Cole, you know, world-class left-back, he's an adulterer, and he shot a work-experienced kid with an air rifle. What are you even doing with an air rifle at training, Ashley? It's just... I wish footballers didn't have to be so mental all the time, because there's no excuse for biting an opponent. Really isn't. I mean, biting an opponent twice as well. Not like he did it once, but twice. If Suarez didn't have this baggage, I think he would be renowned the world over even more than he is now. But it's stuff like this that always holds people back from being remembered as fondly. It's like players like Maradona, for example. You know, Maradona is remembered as a truly brilliant player, but also a cheat and now a drug addict, and you know, all this sort of stuff. It besmirches his image, and this is why, you know, I wish Luis Suarez would just cut that out, because he's so unbelievably talented. He just has no need for that. There's just no point. You know, this isn't a Joey Barton who has to say controversial things in the paper to get people talking about him. You know, Luis Suarez just needs to play. And if he plays, the world will just be amazed at his ability. And fingers crossed he falls out of form before the World Cup so he don't have to play against an unformed Suarez. But, you know, he's just a phenomenal player, and I thoroughly enjoy watching him. So, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. I hope I don't sound too nasally. I had to pause to have a little bit of sip of drink, or just, you know, clear my throat a couple of times in this commentary. I hope it wasn't too annoying for you, but it's a lot more annoying for me, I have to say. But once again, thank you so much for watching the video, and as always, have a great day.